And we are back. It's myself, it's Rudy, it is Stats, and it's Sweep the League time, brought to you by Machismo Libre and Special Leaf Tea, great sponsors of Sweep the League. We've kind of been on a little hiatus. Life's been happening. We've all been busy. Candace is busy. Rocky's busy. Shemaya is just funny thing. I saw Shemaya posted that he had an advertisement in Times Square, and that was pretty cool. So that shows you how big Shemaya is getting. We're just really busy at Sweep the League. Not only that, I mean, we've covered missions coverage coming up. We've been posting some mission stuff. We're gonna have more coming this weekend. Add some player interviews. We just got a lot of stuff going on here. Nonetheless, we're gonna be with you here for just a little while tonight as we launch another episode of Sweep the League. A lot of happenings going on, but first, let's bring in Stats himself. Stats, it feels like forever since we've talked, man, but a lot has gone on in the sports world.
Yeah, man, there is a lot. We couldn't have picked a better time to kind of pick up the podcast here, man. There is a lot. So we got NBA playoffs. Aaron Rodgers finally got traded. Thank goodness. I think we were all just kind of waiting there, getting a little impatient. But yeah, like you said, man, a lot of exciting stuff happening for Sweep the League. We got some missions coverage happening, and have some fun with that. A lot of
It's
good
gonna be
media
fun.
opportunities. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't been to a missions game in a while, but my last experiences there were a blast. So
Yeah, and also I launched a Substack for those of you that want to go to. It's sweeptheleague.substack.com. Subscribe there. It's free. We're going to be releasing some content on there. I've got 3 articles up there right now. One of them is on the draft, which is happening this Thursday, actually. So it's going to be fun. I'm talking about the Texans. I'm going to release a couple more things there on Substack, if not later tonight, probably throughout the week as far as draft coverage goes. But speaking of draft, man, draft has been impacted this week already with the movement from the Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads themselves. Aaron Rodgers officially becomes a Jet, and we can't lie, man. This is something that we knew was going to happen already. I'm sure, right? Because he's been linked to it already for a while.
yeah, no, I think we all knew this was happening, but it was just a matter of like, all right, win, and then we had to say win some more, and then we had to say, okay, win some more, and then we had to look at the watch, look at our phone, the time, and it was taking a little while. So it finally happened, thank goodness. Yeah, man, let's get into this, man. What are your thoughts on this?
So my thing is that I want to say both teams won the trade. I mean, I really didn't see a losing team on this, but I mean, if you look at the Jets, man, where do you, in your opinion, let me ask you this. You may not know it, but you may. On that offensive side, where is their weakness at? Where do you legit see a weakness on that offensive side?
I mean, maybe receiver depth. Maybe they could improve their O line.
You said the word O line. That is that is the true probably weakness of there because I mean you got Rodgers under center. Now Rodgers is not young Rodgers, obviously. You got Brees Hall, Michael Carter in the backfield. You've got Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Alan Lazard as your wide receiver core. You could basically you could upgrade the receiver there. Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzoma, I'm sorry, are your tight ends there. Now you can't really say anything bad about that. Tyler Conklin is a very good tight end there. But look at your offensive line. You have Mekhi Becton, you have Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern is your center, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Max Mitchell. You've got some really good players there. It's about health. If these guys stay healthy, he's got a pretty good offensive line. I think where this trade was really won by the Jets was that they were able to still keep that first round pick. All they did was flip flop with Green Bay. Green Bay moved up in the draft 2 spots. Jet moves down 2 spots in the draft. What does that mean? They can get one of these massive offensive linemen, guy like Cody Mock out of North Dakota State.
Hmm.
Maybe a Peter Skorinsky falls. Paris Johnson, I believe, from Ohio State. Maybe he falls. The Jets are are pretty much set, man. Now the defensive side, it could use some work. It really could use some work. But the O line, man, if they can get another guy in there, a very accomplished offensive lineman to protect Rodgers, do you really think this Jets team has a chance in the AFC?
Oh, absolutely. I think with Rogers' leadership, good coaching, I think it's interesting because I saw Sala as a locker room environment changer. Like he has changed like the culture, I feel, and it, very similar to Dable, what he did with the Giants last season. You didn't just see the team winning, you saw a change in the locker room, a change in the culture. All of a sudden, everyone had this very optimistic mindset and everyone was ready for a fresh start. And that's what Coach Sala did, I feel like, for the Jets as well last season. And both of those coaches did very good jobs with their new franchises. Like you said, I don't think either team lost this trade. It was huge, I think, for the Jets to be able to have that first round pick and a relatively early one. Like you said, they can just draft one of these big like O linemen who are pretty good to bolster that O line right off the bat. They have a receiving core. Garrett Wilson's up and coming. I mean, this team had the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year. Sauce is one of the best corners already in the league. The defense is no joke either. And the thing is, if you also look at it from the Packers standpoint, they still get draft like compensation and such, and they still have a first round pick as well. But not only that, but they don't have to deal with Rodgers. So because they're sending him off to the other conference, and might I say, a very competitive conference with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson over there. I'm sure like Denver's going to flip it. So Lamar Jackson right now with the Ravens. So there's a lot of competition in the AFC, and I think the Packers won in that sense too because I mean they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl next season. Let's be honest, but they won't have to deal with having to face Rodgers in the NFC. So in a considerably weaker NFC as far as quarterbacks go as well.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the division. I mean, you said now look at that division, Buffalo. Are they better than Buffalo? I don't think so. Are they better than Miami? That's kind of hard to say. I mean, Tua is Tua. I still don't buy the whole Alabama QB hype, even though we've got Bryce Young, who's going to be drafted this year's draft. I still haven't seen an Alabama quarterback, a Nick Saban quarterback, make it in the NFL. So I still don't buy the Tua stuff. Again, you have another guy, Mac Jones with the Patriots. Again, Nick Saban guy, Bama quarterback. I don't buy the Bama quarterback thing. So I think if you're looking at it, are the Jets the second best team in the AFC East? Quite
I mean,
possibly. I mean, do you think so?
yeah, I mean, them and the Bills are probably tied for the best team in the AFC East. I don't think Miami's there yet, and that's all because I don't fully believe in Tua myself, but they have a lot of pieces. I mean, that secondary, I mean, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey there.
How
That's
does
again that division
how does
just got
Miami not make a move for Rodgers? Like
well.
literally.
And I'm glad you said that because I was going to mention them as well. I thought that they would have tried to make a move for Rodgers. Can you imagine pairing him up with Tyreek Hill and Waddle? And the running back committee that they have over there is the perfect system for them to be able to keep their offensive weapons intact. Again, the big thing with Miami, of course, is with Tua, and we want him to stay healthy and such. But I've never really been too impressed. I haven't been too impressed with Tua lately. But the big thing is their coaching. I don't know if Mike McDaniels is going to be able to keep them afloat and keep them very, very competitive and playing at a higher level, especially down the stretch, because this Dolphins team like fell off the wagon near the end of the season last year. So really, this is going to be a big test for Mike McDaniels to see if he can keep this momentum going. It's not just about the hot start, especially in the NFL. It's about finishing strong. So that's what the Dolphins are going to have to deal with. And the AFC East is going to be brutal, man. All four of these teams can compete. The Patriots still have a staunch defense. And, the Bills, they're still the Bills. They have to fill some holes out, but you got Josh Allen there, great coaching, great, like solid roster there. up and down, and now Aaron Rodgers throws a wrench in the entire division. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win the division.
Real, you would take them over the Bills in that division?
I wouldn't be surprised, just
Oh,
because it's Rodgers, and I get it. Like he's got the reputation for not being clutch, but I mean he's got this fresh start. He's more motivated than ever now to succeed, outside of the cheesehead nation. So I feel like if he can't get it done, this season, then there might be reason to worry because this is the season again. I'm big on storylines. This is the season for Rodgers to go and show his old team that he can get it. Very similar to what Brady did with the with the Buccaneers. He wanted to, in his first season, he goes out, wins the whole thing, but he had the storyline. He wanted to go show that he can do it without Belichick, and I think Rodgers needs to have the mindset, and he has. I'm hoping he has this pressure on himself to go and show off, show that he can do it without being under the Packer banner. He can go out and kind of forge his own legacy in another place.
do we
And of
expect
course,
Jordan Love to be a Jet in the next like 6 years, 7 years? It was like Favre became a Jet after being a Packer. Rodgers became a Jet after
yeah,
being a Packer.
yeah,
Jordan Love's probably going to be a Jet after 6 years, but
probably. I mean, probably, but yeah, no, this Jets team is no joke, and it's interesting because very similar to what the Buccaneers did prior to Brady arriving. They've built like the roster that they've had through the draft, through good moves. They drafted Sauce, drafted Garrett Wilson. So they in the Buccaneers, they did the exact same thing. They spent years, drafting Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the O line, the building up the defense. Especially the defense was huge for Brady. But again, very similar situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers goes far with this team and ends up, edging out the Bills. But again, it's going to be on Rodgers. Can he get it done? Is he going to apply that healthy pressure on himself to, seal the deal?
that is a very hot take. I think you should mark this down and make it into a cut short or something because you saying that they could possibly upend the Bills, I really need that on tape and save somewhere and probably post it everywhere because I can't see it. I can't see it happening. You know what? I love to be reminded of how wrong I was when Rodgers does take over that division and you can rub it all in my face because I'm looking at the AFC. I don't see them being better than the Bills. I don't see them being better than the Bengals. Baltimore's a crapshoot. Don't know what we can get with Baltimore. They're not better than Kansas City. Are they better with Jimmy G led Raiders? I don't know. Are they better
Oh yeah.
than a second year Russell Wilson in Denver? Again, I don't know. Are we know the Chargers problem? The Chargers are the sexiest pick every single year, but can never get it done.
Oh, you're going down a rabbit hole here.
Well, I
Oh
mean,
no.
Justin Herbert is gonna. I have said this on the show before. Justin Herbert will probably have the career of Philip Rivers.
hmm
Never wins the damn thing,
Yeah.
but the team is always freaking stacked and it's
hmm
always competitive. We'll
hmm
make the playoffs. They're going to be that sexy pick because they have a position player that is, can't really say superb, but way better than average at majority of every position on the field. So it's
Yeah.
like, who's not going to take them? But Herbert's going to probably end up like Rivers and
Yeah.
have all the stats, but nothing to show for it. But are they better than the Chargers, the Jets?
Well, see, there's just a lot of factors to look into here, though. Like, the Bills, they've got, I think, a superior roster, but you also have to look at the track record, man. They don't tend to get it done. I mean, neither does, Rodgers doesn't have the best track record either, but the Bills keep finding ways to, like, they lost to the Bengals with the Damar Hamlin storyline. When you have a storyline like that, you have all the reason in the world to go out there and deliver the best games possible in the postseason. One, not only to win the franchise its first world title, but two, you're going to do it for a teammate who almost died on the field. Like, yeah, I mean, you can't ask for more motivation, a better storyline. In that loss to Cincinnati and Burrow at home, by the way, in Buffalo, that was just deflating. And those are the kinds of losses the Bills, unfortunately, um, tend to get in crunch time. So unfortunately, it's just one of those things. Do I still think the team is really good? Absolutely. The Bills are probably going to like do really well in the regular season. They can play pretty well in the postseason, but there's something. I have a feeling there's always something that's going to happen.
You know what's sad is the NFC just looks pathetic. I'm going to use that word. I mean, Eagles are probably the best team in the NFC. I mean, you can give me the 49ers, yeah, but are we going to see Brock Purdy magic all over again? Is Trey Lance the QB there? Everybody's on the Justin Fields bandwagon. I see it, but I don't. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm just gonna say this: Eagles are probably the best team in the NFC. With Rodgers gone, the NFC is pretty much like, okay, it's the Eagles for them to lose. The
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys, on the other hand, again, the Cowboys are the Chargers of the NFC. Sexy pick, but what the hell are they gonna do? You never know what they're gonna do. So
Honestly,
loaded. But they don't.
honestly, yeah, I feel sorry for Cowboys fans. I really do. Like this is the door has been opened for them. Like it's opened even more now. You know, with Rodgers being in the AFC, it's one less. I mean, Brady retiring too. Like that's two major like blocks like in your way that have just cleared. So there is no excuse. I thought there was no excuse for the Cowboys last season. I mean, they really should have. The door was wide open for them, and in classic Cowboys fashion, they blew it. And the door is even wider now. It's wider for them to just sneak in there and make some big splash, and they're gonna find a way. Unfortunately, I it reminds me so much of the Bills. Like, of course, the Bills are more consistent and they're better, obviously right now than the Cowboys are, but they have that same problem where they just keep finding ways to lose and not deliver. And, props to them for making the right moves right now. So the Stephon Gilmore signing was huge. But it's just the Cowboys. It's hard to depend on them.
And that's what I'm saying. So are the Cow okay, so the Cowboys are not the best in the NFC East. Obviously, Philadelphia is. Now,
Mhm.
if what we're hearing is gonna happen and Derrick Henry goes to Philadelphia, then that just kind of puts them up another notch. Miles Sanders is in Carolina. So
Mhm.
if they don't get Derrick Henry, rumor has it they're going for Bijan Robinson at 10, which again, I hate I hate the fact that we're going to see a running back drafted super early in the first round, but I get it. I mean, very talented athlete, very good running back. You know, he's a difference maker, yes. But again, at a position where you can get Bijan Robinson, great. You can get a guy like a Jamar Gibbs or Chris Rodriguez in, the second round or late first round. I mean, different types of runners, but are you really going to rely on Bijan? Did they really rely on Miles Sanders last year? A pretty explosive back. He's no Bijan Robinson, but you have Jalen Hurts, who you just paid all this damn money to. You
Mhm.
really going to pay him all that money to just hand the ball off and dunk and dink to Bijan Robinson? I can't see it. I really
Right.
can't. So then you have Cowboy Nation, where you will take Bijan Robinson. Okay. Again, for what reason? You pay Dak Prescott all this money to lead you. Running back
Mhm.
should not be that important to these two teams, but it is nonetheless. Anyway, getting off on a little rant here when it comes to running backs, but
Hey, real quick, speaking of running backs, I want to
yeah,
get your thoughts on this. So I was kind of just reading around like potential like landing spots for some of these prospects. How do you feel about Gibbs with Kansas City?
scary,
Right?
super
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Now, the rumor mill was that he's gonna fall to Kansas City and he's gonna probably end up going to Kansas City. Would be a good move for them. Kansas City doesn't have very many holes to fill. They could use some defense, some defensive presence, but they can get a couple of defenders in that second and third round. If Jamar Gibbs is there, because clearly Bijan's not there, they are probably going to want to go get a Jamar Gibbs. Now, what does that do? I mean, think about back in the day if Patrick Mahomes had um, Larry Johnson or a Priest Holmes type player. I mean, imagine what that offense looks like already with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's kind of what you're getting with me, Larry, with Jamar Gibbs. So I think Jamar Gibbs to the Chiefs would be pretty pretty nice. Does he fall that far? I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because you've got a team at 24 right there in Minnesota. I mean, they're not all in on Dalvin Cook. He's out basically. So you've got a team like them who's looking for a running back. 19, you've got, yeah, the Bucks need a running back. I mean, Leonard Fournette is not quite that guy. So you've got teams drafting ahead of Kansas City where you could see a Jamar Gibbs go. Let's not forget at 28 is the Buffalo Bills. Devin Singletary's gone. He's in Houston. They don't have a running back at all. So Zach Moss isn't that guy. And, I think that's where you're looking at maybe a Jamar Gibbs going there. They are praying that everybody just passes on Bijan Robinson. And he's there for them at that. But he's not going to go that far. Honestly, in my mock drafts, I have Bijan Robinson going all the way into 20s. I don't see a team really reaching for him that high. And am I wrong? I'm probably going to be wrong. But do you really think Jamar Gibbs passes some of those teams that I gave you before he gets to
Probably
Kansas
not.
City?
No, yeah. I mean, I could see him. I could see him like landing on one of those teams. There's always like that splash pick by one of these teams. It just takes that running back, and you're like, wait, what? Just like super early. I know the Chiefs don't particularly like drafting running backs in the first round. But recently, and it's interesting because the CEH experiment didn't work out for them. But I could see them doing this, and the articles, I was reading about Gibbs potentially landing there. I could see it. I could see them just taking a chance on him, especially if he winds up in that position.
I mean, think about that, man. Gibbs at Kansas City, if he falls and they take him, man, they they didn't seem to miss Tyreek Hill very much, but adding a speed back like that is I can't even. I don't want to say just give him another back-to-back Super Bowl win, but I mean it's pretty damn close if you think about it. This is Sweep the League. We're talking NFL. It's Stats and myself, Machismo Libre Special Leaf Olive Tea. Going to NFC still, dude. I love how we're just talking about football right now because we got draft coming up tomorrow. Safe to say the Lions are probably the best team in the NFC North. Do you think?
Hmm. The NFC North. See, it's interesting because I had the Bears winning that division.
So you're buying into the Bears, man. Okay.
I am. I don't think Love's ready. I can't trust. I mean, I know how we talked about, like trusting the Chargers, trusting the Cowboys, because on paper these teams look great. You're like, oh man, like this sounds good. The pathway is open for these teams, but they keep finding ways to blow it, man. You don't trust them, and the Vikings, I don't trust them. I don't think they can get it done. I mean, they have a lot of good pieces, but they just find ways. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you can't discredit their success last season. They had quite the season. New head coach. Like he really did do a lot of good stuff there, and that team did accomplish a lot. But again, it's about finishing the race, and they didn't, and they disappointed a lot of people. And I think the Bears have fire right now. I think Fields is more motivated than ever. To go out there and shell out and just get the job done.
Does it, man? How I'm gonna paint a scenario here. Bears are sitting at 9. If they stay put and they don't trade, do they really screw the Eagles over and take Bijan? Considering Deontay Foreman is their best running back right now.
Oh man, I could see that. Oh, who is it? Foreman, and then what? Khalil Herbert, right? Is he
Khalil
still there?
Herbert, Travis Homer, and Treston Ebner, I think is the last guy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, they. I did like Khalil. I did like Khalil Herbert when he had the chance to run the ball, but he's
he's
not a
no
name.
he's no
Yeah,
Bijan Robinson.
yeah,
He's
he's no
no athlete
Bijan.
like that.
Yeah.
Deontay Foreman, I mean, he's not he's not Bijan Robinson. I think if the Bears, to me personally, the Bears should probably trade down again and get more assets because they got to really concentrate on getting. I think offensive line is their biggest priority. So that's the only reason why I see them passing on Bijan Robinson at 9 and he's still there at 10. But wouldn't surprise me if we saw Bijan go to Chicago and have that Justin Fields, Bijan Robinson, DJ Moore triangle of terror in Chicago, but then it goes back to the offensive line. Will they have, will they be able to get an offensive lineman in the second round who's actually worth an F? I mean, they're going to be all gone. The Bears have 2 second-round picks, but by the time they draft at 53, in the second round for their first of 2 second-rounders, there's really not many offensive linemen there that they would be able to bank on. So maybe trade down, grab an extra couple of picks, and grab a maybe offensive lineman there. But I think the Bears could be a landing spot for Bijan Robinson if they want to get crazy and get nuts over it. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do it. They need offensive line help. But going back to the team that we mentioned, the Lions, man. I mean, the Lions are sitting with 2 picks in the first round. We're talking number 6 and number 18. A Lions team that is, I mean, dude, it's stacked, man. It is stacked.
I mean, how did they not make the playoffs next season? Would that be the
I,
biggest disappointment if they don't make the playoffs next season?
I've already got them penciled in for the playoffs. That's how like I'm looking at all this. Yes, their defense could definitely use an upgrade. They definitely could use some players on the defensive side. Considering Jameson Williams got suspended for 6 games for betting, I guess he didn't listen to or see Calvin Ridley's, whole Twitter thing and all that and getting them. But once Jameson Williams comes back, you've got him, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Marvin Jones Jr. You still have Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond. You have DeAndre Swift. Let's not forget David Montgomery is there now. So that gives him that little power back to go with DeAndre
A
Swift.
nice little 1-2 punch.
Exactly. You've got an offensive line. Panay Sewell's there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Jackson, Taylor Decker. They've got an offensive line, and they have a revitalized, a rejuvenated Jared Goff, who's been playing balls out since he's been there.
Yeah,
So
they were like one of the hottest offenses last season, right?
yeah, and their defense is not bad either. I'm gonna look up their stats, but if I'm not mistaken, they were one of the top defensive teams, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you're talking about a Lions team that dude, they're gonna make some noise. I really think they're gonna make some noise. I mean, yeah, they were last in total yards. They were giving up almost 400 yards. So yeah, they do need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. But with 2 picks in the top 20, there is absolutely no way they walk away with this draft without 2 impact players.
Mm-hmm.
This team is on the up and up. Derek and Shemaya should probably be buying, their Lion playoff tickets as we speak. Another hot take. Lions make the playoffs.
Oh, I
Lions.
don't even think that's a hot take.
No, no. This is the hot take. Lions make the playoffs is the take. The hot take, Lions win the division.
Ooh.
That's my thing. I think they'll win the division.
I mean, and again, Rudy, we just talked about how the NFC just, Tom Brady retires, Aaron Rodgers in the AFC now. We just talked about doors opening here for a lot of teams in the NFC right now, and the Lions they're right there with the Cowboys. The door is opened even wider now for them to make waves. And if I'm a young quarterback, or if I'm a team like an up and coming team in the NFC right now, I'm looking at this and like saying to myself, telling my teammates, guys, the door is even wider now. Like we can make this, we can do this. And it's gonna come down to the team who really wants it the most and who can motivate themselves the best. Oh, who's going to come out of this? Because we already know the Niners are the golden child of the NFC right now. The Eagles are the Eagles. They're, like you said, I agree. They're the best team in the NFC right now. But there are these other teams that have to, we're going to find out what kind of teams they are and what kind of a locker room and team culture they have by how they perform and how well they do going into the playoffs.
After
And
Sunday, we're gonna have a really good feel for how these teams are. This draft, in my opinion, and I've been covering the draft since, and really covering it for a long time, but really putting, pen to paper, doing the research, putting, draft live streams out, covering all the rounds and all that. I've been doing that for the better part of almost 6 years already. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this draft outside of the quarterback position is a very impactful draft. Very impactful draft. You're going to get players that are going to be starters day one. You're going to get players that are going to be starters for a very, very long time outside of the quarterback position. There's only a couple of quarterbacks in this whole draft that I would love. Next year's quarterback class, listen to me, Houston Texans. I have an article on Substack, and I'm telling you, there's two guys next year, Drake May and Caleb Williams. Those are the two guys you want to get. If Caleb Williams was available to be drafted this year, number one, hands down, the rest of the guys, take a seat. You're not going to be drafted for a while. Everyone will be fighting for Caleb Williams. This guy is NFL ready right now. But because of the rule, he can't come out. So Carolina's going to take probably Bryce Young. And Houston's there too. I'm like, you know what, dude? If I'm Houston, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, give me that defensive presence. Coming back around, I'm taking, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers, whoever at the wide receiver position. Or if a Christian Gonzalez is a cornerback from Oregon is there, I'm taking him. I'm not worried about QB. But what I'm saying is this draft is super impactful outside of the QB position. So after Sunday, we're going to get a really good feel on how these teams are. When we look at these draft picks come in and say, okay, this guy can be plugged in right here, and this is going to make them better. This guy can be plugged in here. It's going to make them better. The only sure shit thing is that the Carolina Panthers are still going to be Carolina Panthers at the end of the day. The Arizona Cardinals are still going to be another Kyler Murray starting under center season from being trash as normal.
Are the Cardinals the most overrated team in the league?
They are the most overhyped team in the league. And I don't get it. The guy, you have Muggsy Bogues at quarterback. He can't see over defenders. He can't. And, people say when he was drafted, I remember telling my co-host at the time, Gio, when we did that coverage for the first round, I told him Daniel Jones is going to be the better quarterback out of him and Murray. I got laughed at by Gio. I got laughed at by everybody that was watching the stream, everything. To this day, I still believe Daniel Jones is a better QB over Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is hot garbage, man.
He just got paid too.
And he just got paid. He's hot garbage. He cannot lead a horse to water.
It's bad too because they're about to lose. They're about to lose Hopkins.
He's going to be gone.
Yeah, he's going to be gone. And then you look at the running back and like James Conner. I like James Conner, but he can't stay healthy, man. Like
James Conner, can you agree? James Conner is the reason why the Cardinals were even in games last year.
Yes, and he's a guy that needs to be in a committee. Like I like the character, like the guy. He's a good dude. He plays his butt off out there on the field in every play. That season in Pittsburgh, man, was just inspiring watching what that guy did. And they trusted him with the full workload when Bell was out. So nothing but respect to James Conner. But man, I felt kind of bad for him because he just kept getting hurt, and that's unfortunately the stigma with him. And but yeah, I agree with you, man. Like his production is what kept a lot of the Cardinals like like a lot of the Cardinals games close for them.
Yeah. I mean James Conner is that guy, man. I mean he really is. And yeah, I think Cardinals are the most overhyped team. And a lot of it has to do with Kyler Murray. They they're not going to win anything with Kyler Murray at all. So I wouldn't even look at them at number three. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm probably trading down. Now, you know what? We don't want this pick. We can go get a Jalen Carter. We can go get a Will Anderson. And you know what? We can waste their careers off in Arizona. There's it's sad because man, Arizona has some players, dude. Like they've got some players on the defensive side.
Judah Baker, man.
Their defense is wow. I mean, Buda Baker, you have Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins there. I mean, you've got guys that can make a difference, and they're young guys at that. So
Mhm.
if you can imagine a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson there, I mean, that front line is just going to be massive. It's going to be tough to run on them, when it comes to the Cardinals. But then you look at the offensive side. I mean, Kyler Murray, James Conner. The only reason why the Cardinals were good last year. Hopkins is still there, but for how long? In fact, I
He's
think
not going to be a
Hopkins,
Cardinal.
yeah, I think Hopkins gets dealt on draft night. Him and Henry, Derrick Henry. I think those two guys are the ones that are going to be dealt on draft night, or if not draft night during the draft. I think both of them will probably end up getting moved.
Mhm.
Zach Ertz is there, but again, Zach Ertz is not Philadelphia Eagles Zach Ertz.
Yeah, he's been dealing with injury problems too.
Exactly. You have
Mhm.
Marquise Brown and Rondell Moore as your receivers. Nothing screams this, Cardinals offense as like being great. And
And
that's
there's
what's
not even yeah, that like and there's not even like a Garrett Wilson there who's like really young, but he's got that potential to like truly be a superstar receiver. Like they don't even have that on the receiving end.
yeah, they don't. And that's where I'm thinking trade down and grab some assets, maybe get another pick in the second or third, get a late first rounder. This is where ideally this is where it's kind of like, okay, again, I'm spitballing here, but this is where a team like maybe Buffalo comes in. We want to get a top pick. Why? We want to draft Bijan. We want this guy. Or, you get a team like Seattle who definitely wants to move up a few spots and Arizona moves down. I mean, there's teams out there that are definitely looking at number three. I think number three is the hot commodity. The only guarantees are one and two right now. I think both teams stand pat. Do I see Houston trading down? I think they might. If they can get a really good deal, they might. But I think one and two are pretty set right now. Everything else outside of that, I really feel is up for grabs. Even the Colts. I think the Colts, everybody's on this Will Levis, Anthony Richardson hype for the Colts. I've even seen Anthony Richardson to the Cardinals and them trying to trade Kyler Murray. I don't see anybody taking Kyler Murray, but I've seen that being, basically shopped around everywhere. Anthony Richardson's a bust from Florida. He's not that guy. Will Levis, again, it's the Zach Wilson effect. It's the Jamarcus Russell effect. You look good when there's nobody there defending you. There's no one there rushing you. Don't get fooled by these drills, man. Will Levis threw 80 yards from his knees. Oh my God, he's got a cannon. When in the hell is he going to be able to concentrate that long to get the ball 80 yards down the field? It ain't going to happen. That's why you don't base your draft picks off of what they did in a combine or what they did in their pro day. You go off game film.
Yeah, he better not end up in Indy, man. They don't have good pass protection there. If
No, and
there's
it's
anything we
sad.
learn, if there's anything we learn from the past two seasons, ask Matty Ice.
That's sad because Indy had the top offensive line for years there. Like for a while there, they had the best offensive. How the hell do you think Jonathan Taylor led the league in rushing? I mean, they were just creating so many gaps for him. He was hitting the gaps in the holes like nobody's business.
You know what's fascinating about that? So it's interesting because I think the Colts O line issues were disguised because of Jonathan Taylor and the success of the run game.
Mm-hmm.
Because even during that time, Wentz was getting rushed. That O line was not good in pass protection.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I mean, as much as you want to see them take a quarterback, yeah, they have Gardner Minshew under center. Ryan Kelly's still there. Quentin Nelson. I mean, Braden Smith. Wolf Fries is there. I mean, they have an offensive line. Let's not be dumb about it. They have an offensive line, especially with Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly. That's those two guys
Mhm.
alone are enough to protect the QB. Is it
Mhm.
enough to protect the Will Levis who doesn't know how to read certain rushes? Probably not. Anthony Richardson, the first chance he get, he's running. He's out of the pocket. So again, another team like Houston who needs a quarterback. Do you desperately take one now because that is the popular thing to do right now? Because you feel that quarterback is the main option. Yes, it's the main option. Can Gardner Minshew get you 5 wins? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he can. But in a weak draft class for quarterbacks, why not wait till the third round? Go get you a Jake Herner out of Fresno, or go get you a Dorian Thompson out of UCLA. You're gonna get guys that are just as serviceable in those rounds compared to wasting it on a Will Levis, who's probably not going to be that guy, or wasting it on a Anthony Richardson, who's not going to be that guy. Jaron Hall's another guy. I love Jaron Hall. Tanner McKee out of Stanford. These are guys you're going to get later. Hendon Hooker should be there in the third round. I mean, yeah, the culture there. That's what I'm saying. This draft class, you need to draft everything outside of a QB first. You're going to get QBs later on in the draft that are going to be serviceable, and that's where I'm like, okay, you're the Colts. Is it the popular opinion to take a QB? What do you think they should go QB? I'm probably sure you're going to say yes.
I mean, like early, no, the Colts probably shouldn't go QB.
Probably BPA, right? Best player available.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the QB position. Just go
Yeah.
best player available for
I
the
mean,
Colts.
especially if there isn't like that, like generational type talented quarterback available. Like why again, BPA, just go with the best player available. You get your money's worth, get the value there, and you still fill a position that you need anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You've got a lot of needs, and that there's so many players, man. This draft's going to be so awesome. I'm kind of excited for it, but I'm also kind of scared to see teams take these quarterbacks in the first round and really screw themselves over. But nonetheless, man, we're going to end this show here on a bang, and we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys real quick. So, Cowboys are a popular thing, and I hate that we always have to talk about them on the show, but they're sitting at 26. And again, what do they do, man? I mean, the Cowboys are so loaded according to Cowboy Nation. Everybody, oh, we've got Dak Prescott. We need a running back. We need Bijan Robinson, who's probably not going to be there. We may need to get a Jamar Gibbs. Why? Because we've got CeeDee Lamb, we've got Brandon Cooks, we've got Michael Gallup. We don't have a tight end anymore. So Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, those guys are going to be there probably. Do you go after, in my opinion, what they should do is go after an offensive lineman. I think John Michael Schmitz is going to be there. That'll be a perfect center for you. I know they have Tyler Bidaz, but I would take Schmitz over him every day. Or do they go defense, man? I mean, you have so many defensive guys that are going to be available. Maybe a Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. You could possibly get Manuel Forbes, Mississippi State cornerback, one of the top rated cornerbacks, may drop there. Which side do you see the Cowboys drafting on? Which side of the ball do you think they will go in that first pick on the first round, number 26 overall?
Well, I think you just said it. I think you just answered the question. Like you said, there's going to be a very good offensive lineman piece available to them. Of course, if he's there, I think they go that route because you also, as you just said, there's going to be a lot of good defensive pieces available. but there's not going to be as many good offensive line pieces, and the Cowboys do need to fill that position. So I think the Cowboys should go with the offense. I mean, people have been saying the O line needs some attention, and it's needed attention for a few years now. So I think why not just fill those cracks and bolster that O line that's ultimately going to protect Dak, who's we saw last season. He's vulnerable, he's prone to injury. So being able to protect him and allowing the Cowboys to be able to run the ball more efficiently, and there'll be other opportunities to get defensive pieces, but I think they should take care of that O line.
Yeah, I'm 100% with the O-line pick. I really feel they need to really draft an offensive lineman, considering you've got a lot of great offensive linemen. Osiris Thomas should be there. He's the best. He's the number one ranked interior offensive lineman in this draft. To see him dropping in some mock drafts that low to the Cowboys area, that's insane. That really is insane. So I think they should stick with the offensive line and come back in the next few rounds. They're still going to be able to get some really good players. I'm going to actually do a mock draft, a 3-round mock draft for the Dallas Cowboys here. I'll be posting on our Substack. Follow the Substack at sweeptheleague.substack.com. And check out some of the articles that are going to be coming up. We'll have some videos as well, stuff like that, as we bolster our Substack. Again, sweeptheleague.substack.com. So, for stats, it's draft night. It's draft week. We'll be sure to talk next week about how these teams are looking after the draft. So the post-draft show of Sweep the League will be coming. But like I said, it is stats. Rudy Campos Jr. for everybody else at Sweep the League. Be sure to tune in this weekend. Our social medias. We're going to be posting a lot of mission stuff on Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully more on Saturday than Sunday, but nonetheless, we'll get them all out to everybody. Try to get some player interviews, get some videos and stuff up from the missions games as we do cover these San Antonio missions. So for stats, this is Rudy Campos. Until we sweep the league again next week, we'll see you guys later.
Oh, yeah.